Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Wednesday night, which means it's time for NFL Week 11 already. We got a 12-game slate over there on FanDuel, 11-game slate over there on DraftKings. We're going to talk about them all. We're going to talk about all 12 games, some really interesting games. I feel like there's a lot more interesting games than there were last week. Joined as always by my good buddy, Noto. Noto, what's happening, my friend?
What's up? Hopped in the shower before the show, and for whatever reason, the first show of the year, my water heater just gives out. Cold shower before the show. Got a little more energy because of the cold shower, and pumped for Week 11.
Dude, I love cold showers.
I like it when it's my choice to have a cold shower.
Yeah,
when I was expecting a little hot water, I wasn't too happy. But I'm ready now.
I'll take cold showers all the time. I like cold showers. My wife thinks it's crazy that I like cold showers, and I'm like, well, because like when you grow up playing sports and like the level that I played baseball at, like you take so many ice baths. Like ice baths and like icing your arm, and like it just becomes like second nature. Like I could jump in an ice bath and be perfectly fine. So it's just so different.
I like the hot shower with the cold, like 30 seconds at the end. That's usually my go-to.
Yeah,
some energy going, but full cold shower. I don't know about that.
Yeah, wash your body with hot water, and then when it's time to like do your hair and wash your face and stuff, turn it cold. Anyway. All right, wait. Awesome, interesting intro. How was your Week 10? I'm ready to forget about Week 10. It was probably the worst NFL slate I think I've ever had. I scored my main lineup scored like 68, 69 points. It was really, really ugly for me.
Right there with you. My favorite quarterback was Aaron Rodgers. Paired him up with Devontae Adams. So after a decent start to the morning, it turned sour pretty quick.
Yeah, my team was awful. I played Mac Jones. I don't think anybody on my team scored more than 13 fantasy points. I was super happy too. Like Mac Jones looked okay in the first quarter, got the rushing touchdown. I'm like, okay, I got a rushing touchdown. Just do anything else the rest of the game. Well, he proceeded to not do anything else the rest of the game. Minnesota couldn't get up on Jacksonville, so they could just run the football. And it was that game overall just was awful. Jefferson didn't do anything because he couldn't get going. It was a rough weekend for your boy. So I'm ready to move on to this week. I think it's a much more interesting slate just overall. I don't know about you, but like I was building my team Saturday night, Sunday morning, and I just really never felt good about my teams. And I was like, man, I probably should unregister some stuff. And I just didn't. And I paid the price.
Yeah, man. I love Bijan Robinson. That was pretty much it. And Forrest Kamara in there, who just continues to leave a bunch of fantasy production out there. He dropped a 60-yard touchdown. Ended up getting on the Bills guys after Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper ruled out. It just wasn't good. It just wasn't good.
All right, well, we're moving on. What's up, chat? Hope everyone over there on YouTube had a better weekend in NFL than your boys did. But we're back. It's been a good year. I'm not going to even sit here and complain about having one bad week because it's been a really good year in NFL for me. So I'm not going to complain. Let's get started, though. Oh, what's that?
The chat has their opinions on cold showers. I like it.
I know. I see that. Like, why not? Hey, listen, everybody's different. I am perfectly good with the cold showers, though. Hey, be you, right? That's what we always tell people. Be yourself. Do what makes you happy. What makes me happy is talking football. We got 12 games to get through here. We get started with Green Bay at Chicago. 40 total in this game. Green Bay 6-point favorite. If the lines are a little different, I wrote this stuff down earlier today, so lines could have moved a little bit. Let's go to the Green Bay side here first. It sounds like Love will play. I think the biggest thing that we're watching here is like Josh Jacobs, but he's been kind of limited all year throughout practice. But I think it's a really good spot for Josh Jacobs. So going to kind of pay attention and make sure he's good to go. It's the same thing with Jordan Love. I feel like every week you don't really know who to play him with. I hate this spot for him too. Chicago's actually been really solid against the pass basically all season. So I think if anything, I'm really kind of looking at the run game here with Jacobs, who just continues to dominate the backfield in touches here.
Yeah, this game kind of stinks. I don't love a lot about it. You mentioned the tough pass matchup, so don't really love Jordan Love here. Plus, it's a divisional game on the road. Don't necessarily love that. So I'm with you. I kind of like Josh Jacobs. He's had at least 15 touches each of the last 5 games. But there's a lot of running backs. There's always a lot of running backs. So I'm not forcing anyone from the Packers into my builds.
You want to hear my interesting stat of the week?
Yeah.
The Chicago Bears defense has only allowed over 235 passing one time this year, and it was against Washington in Week 8. They have absolutely shut down quarterbacks. I think the Bears defense, switching gears to the other side, I think the Bears defense at 2,400 is super playable here. As good as like the Packers offense is, like you mentioned, divisional game in Chicago, they're just too cheap for like their upside. They can get sacks, they can get picks. Like they're not. I mean, they're number 1 in pass EPA this season. So I don't know if I would necessarily want to pair them with anybody from Chicago. Like DeAndre Swift has failed me 2 weeks in a row now in 2 good matchups. I think I'm out on the Bears offense, but I kind of like their defense here.
Yeah, I can get down with the defense. That's a really good price point. Typically, we want to pay as cheap as we can for a defense. I might have a little more interest in the offense. You know, they fire Shane Waldron. I don't know if he was their biggest problem, but he was certainly one of them. So maybe they go with a more run-heavy approach. Our boy DeAndre Swift continues to get a bunch of touches, so maybe he can get going here. And then Roma Dunze has an 18% target share, 36% air yard share the last 2 games. So he's kind of separating himself there in the passing game. Don't mind looking at him in tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, Odunze would be the guy that I think I'd take shots on too at 5K, just trying to get the home run shot. But overall, I mean, for the first game on the slate, this is just not one of my favorites. I think there's a lot of good games, and this is just not one of them. Yeah. We go to Detroit. We got Jacksonville at Detroit, 47 total. Detroit is a 13-point favorite in this game. I don't know if that's enough. Going to your Jacksonville side here. First, I mean, no guessing. Lawrence has already been ruled out. We're going to see Mac Jones try to play football again on Sunday. 2 interceptions, just didn't look good. He had that rushing touchdown that was kind of gifted to him at the 1-inch line. What are your thoughts here on your Jags?
Dude, my Jags are bad. They're bad. I can't believe they were supposed to win the division last year, and now they're the worst team in football. It's tough to be a Jags fan. I saw since 2012 or something, they had more losses than any team in the NFL, so that feels pretty good. But yeah, I mean, if Tank Bixby's out, maybe Travis Etienne gets a bump, but still, I mean, the Lions so tough against the run. We did see Evan Ingram lead the way in targets last week. Mac Jones under center, had 8 of them, but Detroit's more vulnerable to wide receivers. So I don't know. I don't think I want to play anybody here other than the Lions defense.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like the Lions defense. I'm with you. There wasn't enough volume, I feel like, more than anything else for the passing game. So I don't mind Ingram. A lot of his targets came in the second half of that game. They finally started to get him going. Like, I think he had like 2 or 3 targets in the first half of the game, and it was just like, where is Evan Ingram? Kind of thought we were going to get checked down Jones, and happened in the second half. But again, that game was kind of weird. I don't think that it's going to be the same case here. I think Detroit's going to get out to a lead, and like Mac Jones is going to have to throw the ball a little bit in this one. So I don't mind Ingram. As far as the wide receivers, I don't know. If Thomas and Davis both play, I'll probably take a few shots on Thomas on run backs because I want to stack Detroit a little bit. Like if this game does stay remotely close, I mean, they have a 30 implied team total. It's the highest team total on the slate for good reason. The Jags defense is awful. I mean, this is one of the worst defenses in the NFL. You could throw against them all day long. They play a lot of man coverage. We could see Jamison Williams have a monster game here in man coverage. So, I mean, I'm all go on Detroit. It's just Detroit really spreads the ball out. So it could be a game where they score 5 touchdowns and five guys score 5 different touchdowns.
For sure. But after Jared Goff threw 5 picks last week, I'm kind of thinking they're just going to give it to
Come out and just light it up.
Gibbs.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe they just let him get his confidence back against this bad pass defense? I don't know. Everyone should be able to get there. The efficiency should be through the roof. My note in this game was the Lions might put up 50, and some of those might be on defense. You mentioned if the Lions get out to a lead, we're going to see more Mac Jones throwing, and that's going to be good for the Lions defense. So I don't feel great about any particular player, but I kind of like everyone on Detroit.
Do we like Gibbs or Montgomery more?
I think Gibbs for the upside. He has a higher ceiling, but I mean, DeMont's going to score a touchdown. You can mark that down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those weeks where I feel like maybe I play Gibbs on DraftKings and Montgomery on FanDuel, where the touchdowns are so much more weighted. But I just want to like point out one more time. I think Jameson Williams has a big game this week. Jameson Williams in man coverage has been one of the best wide receivers this year, with creating space and getting open. They're going to dial him up this week. I have no doubt about that. So just wanted to throw it out there one more time. I think Williams is a fantastic play. I think if anything, Laporta takes a hit. I know he's dealing with a shoulder injury. So maybe we don't see a ton of Laporta this week, which actually helps Williams even more. So, all right, we got the Raiders and the Dolphins, 44 total in this one. Miami is 7.5-point favorites. I'll go to Las Vegas here first. Minshew to start. I feel like if Minshew doesn't play well in the first half, we see Desmond Ridder in the second half. What are your thoughts here on the Raiders?
Yeah, I think he's going to be on a short leash for sure. He hasn't scored more than 16 fantasy points all season, which is not good for a quarterback. It's hard to trust. I like Jacoby Myers. I like Brock Bowers as players, but don't really like Minshew. So we'll see what I do with that. I will note that Jacoby Myers has a higher target share when Minshew's the quarterback than Brock Bowers. Yep. So if you do want to look his way, I don't hate it. He might get some Jalen Ramsey in this one, but don't trust the backfield. Kind of going to be a split once again with Madison and Zamir White. So I don't know. Do you have anything more or more?
Yeah, I just feel like Jacoby Myers is too cheap. You know, ever since Devontae Adams, he's had at least, well, I mean, he's added 9 targets in 5 straight games, and he's still 5,600. I mean, he has double-digit fantasy points in 4 of the last 5, and he's only scored a touchdown in 2 of those games. So I feel like Jacoby Myers is just too cheap. They should be trailing in this game. I don't care who the quarterback is at 5,600. I think that Brock Bowers, obviously fantastic. You could play him any week because he's just elite tight end, but I think Jacoby Myers is where I get my Raiders exposure this week. I mean, their run game is atrocious. I don't want to touch anything in the run game. So, I mean, I think it's Jacoby Myers or Brock Bowers for me. Maybe even a little Dolphins defense this week at 20 or at 30 at 3,000. I don't hate that, especially with Minshew potentially back there to start this game. As far as the Dolphins, I mean, yeah, we like this spot. You know, the Raiders defense, nothing special. I think you could attack them with the run or the pass. I think this like hand thing with Tyreek worries me enough where I'll probably like pump the brakes, but man, Tyreek at 7,400 is juicy when you're thinking about the Raiders. I think I'm just going to keep playing Achane. And I mean, he's 7,200 still. He does it all. He kind of showed us like a floor game last week, you know? So can he bounce back? I think this is a great spot for him to bounce back.
Yeah, and we do like the running game quite a bit. We've seen Raheem Mostert not really be involved anymore, especially in the running game. So I don't know if it's a fumbling issue or what, but Jalen Wright's been playing ahead of Mostert lately. So Devon Achane, great play here. I agree with you on Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's going to break out with a big game here soon. And the Dolphins offense, they put up 27, 27, and 23 points with Tua under center in the last 3 games. Just hasn't been a lot through the air, but I think they're going to get going here. So, you know, Mike McDaniel, he can't be happy right now. If they get a lead, they're just going to keep their foot on the gas. I think one of these 40-point explosion games are going to be coming soon from the Dolphins.
I think I'll have some exposure to the Dolphins like pass game in like my 20 entry max build. Like I'll build 3 to 5 of my teams with like Dolphins like stack because like I think their ceiling is massive in this game. I mean, they have a high implied team total. I think this is a great spot for them. And yeah, I mean, this is definitely a team I want to target. Like they play fast too. They can put up points in bunches. And they still have all the speed. Wrist or not, you still have all the speed. We got Minnesota at Tennessee. 39.5 total here. Tennessee, a 6-point favorite. I mean, we typically like Minnesota, but I mean, these are 2 of the better pass defenses in the NFL. I mean, 2 of the better defenses. Like I know Tennessee has these games where they just don't ever show up sometimes. But I mean, they have a really solid, like, actual defense. Anything here on the Minnesota side that you like?
Yeah, it's kind of scary. I mean, Sam Darnold's looked pretty shaky the last few weeks. He's capable of scoring 20 plus any fantasy points any game, but yeah, I don't know. Hawkinson was up to a 67% route rate last week, so that's promising. He did have a 24% target share in that game. Justin Jefferson can always break a slate, but he's seriously expensive. And even if Aaron Jones is out, I don't want to play Cam Akers. So I'm kind of with you. I don't love anyone on the Vikings. I think they'll be able to control this game and just probably a lower scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Minnesota defense in this game with Levis back there. It's not a game that I love. I'm like struggling because it's still Justin Jefferson and like he could do it against anybody, but he's 8,600. Like you need him to go for 30 for him to really like burn you at this price point. So I don't think that happens this weekend. I just don't think that they run enough plays for that to happen. So what are we doing with Calvin Ridley? This target share recently is phenomenal. And I mean, now he's getting in the end zone a couple times. Like, is this the point where we're just like, we got to play some Calvin Ridley?
Yeah, I was scared to play him last week with Will Levis under center, but still had a 39% target share. And Minnesota, they've allowed the third most fantasy points to wide receivers. So I think you can play Ridley with some confidence here. And to your point, the Vikings defense looks pretty good. Will Levis took 7 sacks on 30 dropbacks last week. That's an incredibly high number. And he's going to turn the ball over quite a bit too. Probably going to fade Tony Pollard. It's a tough matchup for him. But yeah, I love Calvin Ridley in this spot.
Love's a strong word, my friend.
Former Jag,
I know. For 1 year, right? Yeah. I mean, he's still cheap enough with his like target share that he's had recently that, yeah, I mean, you definitely like the price for sure. All right, we got Cleveland at New Orleans is where we go next. 44.5 total here. New Orleans a 1-point favorite. Let's go to the Cleveland side here first. No more Lattimore. Saints definitely a team that you could beat through the air, and I mean, the Cleveland Browns still leading the NFL in, pass percentage overall in the game. They're throwing the ball 69.3% of the times. They passed Seattle a couple weeks ago. Dare I say we go to the Jameis Winston train. I obviously have a lot of interest in Cedric Tillman this week. His target share has been incredible since the Cooper trade. He's way too cheap this week. But are we pairing him with Jameis?
I'm playing with Jameis this week. 5,500, good matchup indoors, coming off the bye too, so you get a little extra preparation there. You mentioned Lattimore no longer being in New Orleans. I think that's a positive too. Cedric Tillman, 32 targets over the last 3 games, just monster numbers. Very beatable secondary. So yeah, I'll definitely play some of those two. And I probably won't play any Nick Chubb, but I think we can finally see a 20-plus carry game from Nick Chubb if they can, keep this game competitive, which I do think they'll be able to do so. So if he was a little more involved in the passing game, I'd maybe look his way. He hasn't been very efficient on the ground, but I'm hoping it's more of a passing game this week.
Yeah, I hope it's a passing game too. I mean, we should point out that Chubb has had 2 really tough matchups. Obviously, the game he came back was a pretty solid matchup, but Baltimore and Chargers, they're 2 really good run defenses. I mean, Chubb really hasn't looked too explosive. I don't have his price on FanDuel up in front of me, but the touchdown heavy or touchdown dependent FanDuel site, I think where I would probably get more exposure to him. Let's see, he is 6,200 on FanDuel.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll play some Nick Chubb on FanDuel this week at 6,200. That price tag's too cheap.
Getting a little ownership too, so yeah, I like it.
And New Orleans is not good against the run. They're allowing 141 rushing yards per game, 6th most in the NFL. So I like Cleveland. Famous last words. I mean, I like Njoku too. He's 5,500 and he has at least 7 targets in 4 straight games. So yeah, I mean, Jameis is chucking. Cleveland's throwing a lot. Let's go Browns. Who are we running it back here with on the Saints?
Alvin Kamara's got to score a touchdown eventually. I mean, he's had 57 touches the last 2 games. He should have that long 60-yarder last week. And no matter the game script, he's going to be heavily involved because they're giving him a bunch of carries, and Derek Carr just loves checking down to him. So he's really the only guy I like on the Saints. I'm not falling for the MVS trap. You know, he had 3 catches for over 100 yards, I think, or 3 targets and 2 catches for over 100 yards, something like that. Don't really trust Tipton. I mean, you can play Taysom again, but I don't know. I'm just a Kamara with the Browns passing game stacked here.
Dude, don't you like? Are we all kind of hoping that like MVS is chalk?
Yeah. I mean, Richie in the chat said he almost dropped both of those touchdowns. Like, yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah, one of the most unreliable wide receivers that gets open. So I hope he gets a little ownership. I mean, Kamara is my guy this week. I feel like he's your option. Don't hate the Saints defense at 3,300 with Winston, you know, throwing the ball over the place. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, Taysom Hill I think is fine. I want to pay attention. I will say I want to pay attention to this Cedric Wilson. Like if he plays or not, I think he could be a guy that gets some targets in large field tournaments and some Cleveland stack run backs. I could potentially play Kamara with Wilson in those stacks.
Do you remember when the Saints were the best offense in the NFL after 2 weeks?
Yeah.
It was like a lifetime ago.
It does. It does. You're not wrong. All right, we got Baltimore at Pittsburgh, 48 total in this game. Baltimore a 3-point favorite. I think this is one of my favorite games of the weekend. Like I think this game is pretty stackable. It's just who do I want to play from Baltimore?
Interesting. I didn't have a lot on my radar from this game, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts. But yeah, I mean Lamar, and he gets there every week. So even though it's a tough matchup, you can still play him. He's probably going to be really low owned this week, and you probably don't have to pair him up if you don't want to. Don't really love Derrick Henry in the spot. The wide receivers, I could play some Zay Flowers, but he's always so expensive that I just always gravitate towards other guys with higher floors in that range. So I don't know. What do you like on Baltimore?
I mean, Flowers at 6,900 in a game that's going to be, you know, very competitive. I have a lot of interest in him. I also have a lot of interest in Mark Andrews this week. He's 4,600. You know, if we look at his last 5 games, 4 of them have been outstanding. And then one was against Denver where they just absolutely dominated Denver and they didn't need Mark Andrews. So we see them use him a lot in these close games. And, you know, we see Lamar use him a lot. But, I mean, Lamar is averaging the most fantasy points per game by quarterbacks this year. He's a guy that can go for like 35 plus. I think this is going to be a competitive, high-scoring game. You know, Highsmith is out. Porter has been playing a lot worse here recently. I think Baltimore is going to put up points, and I think Russ is going to chuck. There is a high probability that Russ Wilson is my main quarterback play this week at 5,900. Yeah, love him. Yeah, love him, and I love the Pickens combo. Dude, how do you not expect that? Baltimore, I've been saying this all year. They're the biggest pass funnel in the NFL. Like, Pittsburgh is not going to be able to come out and run the ball 30 times against Baltimore and beat them. This is a divisional game. It's a huge game. Pittsburgh's going to have to throw the football. So I like Russ. I think Russ is going to cook here. He's either going to cook or they're going to get crushed. And, I mean, as bad as this pass defense has been, I mean, it's hard for me not to like Russ this week.
Mr. Unlimited, huh?
Oh, listen, he's still got a little left in the tank, man. I'm in.
I'll just send you Subway commercials and you'll be out. No, I do like George Pickens though. So with Russell Wilson under center, 40% target share, 35% first read rate. I know you love both of those stats, and like you said, Ravens are the biggest pass funnel in the NFL. So I'll play some George Pickens for sure. I don't know if I'll pair him up with Russ, but I'm on board with one of your plays at least.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to pair him up, right? You could just play Pickens with Mark Andrews or Zay Flowers and Lamar. I mean, I think this is going to be a high-scoring football game. I think that Pittsburgh's defense is banged up a little bit right now, and they're not going to get to Lamar as much, and their pass defense has really struggled. So, yeah, I mean, this is one of those spots. I want to play this game. And man, got to send me those Subway commercials to get my excitement about Russ down a little bit. All right, we got Rams and Patriots, 43.5 total here. Rams a 4.5-point favorite. We'll go to the Rams first. What do we like here for LA?
Yeah, I mean, Puka Nacua, when he's on the field, he just dominates targets, even when Cooper Kupp's playing alongside of him. So if I'm playing one of those two, it's probably going to be Puka. Certainly, Cooper Kupp can get there. But, in terms of target earning, Puka's been better when they've both been on the field. I see this as a smash spot for Kyren Williams. He continues to be 90% of the snaps, which is just unheard of for a running back these days. Great matchup against the Pats. And, the Rams are playing pretty well. So I kind of like Kyren Williams in this one.
Yeah, you mentioned it. 88.6% snap rate. The closest person to him at running back is 77%, and that's Jonathan Taylor, who missed a few games. So Williams just... his expected fantasy point per game, everything is just fantastic with Williams. And we like picking on New England with the run game. So I'm right there with you on Williams, and I'm right there with you on Puka. It's as simple as that for me. I want to play some Williams. I want to play some Puka, and that's it. That is my exposure to the Rams this week. Do I fire a couple shots at Cooper Kupp? It depends on how many teams I build. I don't know. It's my first weekend without NASCAR. I don't know how much I'm going to sit at the computer and build lineups this weekend. The New England side, I think, is really interesting this week because the Rams defense is kind of boom or bust. They play good. They play bad. Do we have any interest here in New England's offense?
Yeah, I do. I like young quarterbacks at home. Drake May's got a really high rushing floor. I think he's averaged 39 rushing yards per game this season. And he's shown he can win some games. So I think the Rams are going to put up points, and I think the Patriots will have to combat that a little bit. Don't know who to pair him up with, really. I like Hunter Henry a little bit. He and Demario Douglas both have a 17% target share with Drake May under center. And then Stevenson's had at least 20 carries in 2 of the last 3 games. I prefer the passing attack, but if nobody's going to play Stevenson, I'll have a little interest, I think.
Yeah, so I think Stevenson's too cheap not to play him, but you want to know who I want to play this week? I want to play Boudier. Do you want to know why I want to play Boudier? Because he has run a route on 81% of the team's dropbacks. He has 323 air yards over the last 4 games. He has that 60-yard touchdown upside. He's 3,500. I don't need him to go out there and get 10 catches. I'm not playing Boudier to go out there and get 10 targets. I'm playing Boudier because he has 35% of the team's air yards since Drake May took over. And they're taking shots downfield. And you could beat the Rams with the deep ball. So I bet his receiving prop today at 33.5. He's hit that on 1 play in 3 of his last 5 games. So I think Boudier at 3,500, dude, I'm going to take some shots. I don't trust, any of the other guys. And, I definitely don't like this spot as much for, is it Douglas that is in the slot? Who's in the slot, guy? Is it Polk or Douglas? I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah,
but to target a pass catcher other than Hunter Henry on this team, so I don't know the slot guy.
Yeah, well, the reason that I say that is because the slot corner for the Rams is actually really solid. Where you beat the Rams typically is on the outside.
Let's see. So, Douglas, 84% slot rate.
Yeah, so I don't like Douglas as much this week. Just everything points me to Boudier. And as much as I hate to say it, I really hope Hunter Henry sits this week so I can play Austin Hooper at 2,900. I'll just say that.
Look, I was looking for somebody to pair with May, so I feel better about it. And, you gave me Boudier, so let's do it.
Yeah, it's a really cheap stack. You could build some really good teams. You pay up at running back. But yeah, watch this Hunter Henry news. Hunter Henry is dealing with a foot injury right now. He did play through it on Sunday and played, I think, 57 of the 65 snaps. So, man, chat, Richie, you can hoping you say because you love Boudier and you cannot lie. That's great. Yeah, my local radio station started. One of those radio stations that I grew up listening to.
Yeah,
just came back online. And it's all 90s and 2000s hip hop and pop. Oh man, good times. I was listening to some Bone Thugs on the way home. Yeah, man, gosh, good music. All right. Anyway, Indianapolis Colts, New York Jets, 43.5 total. Jets a 3.5 point favorite. I feel like this is the game that we just have to throw last week's memory away. And we'll talk about the Jets in a minute. Let's start here with the Colts. You got to beat the Colts or the Jets through the ground. Jonathan Taylor, at least 20 rushing attempts in 4 of the last 5 games. Anthony Richardson back, so I don't want to play any of the pass catchers. I might take some shots on like Richardson by himself or play some Jonathan Taylor this week.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Shane Steichen said Joe Flacco was going to be the quarterback the rest of the season 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, now it's Richardson's going to be the quarterback the rest of the season.
You know you played real bad when you get benched after 2 weeks. And I love Joe Flacco. Kind of sucks. But, yeah, I'm not going to play the pass catchers. Best way to beat the Jets anyways on the ground. They're just going to run JT up and down the field. I think it's a great spot for him. And he looked great. I think he had over 100 yards last week in the first half. And then for every reason, the offense just couldn't move the ball in the second half last week. So I like JT too.
One of Flacco's pick was awful, and one of them wasn't his fault. And I don't remember the other one, but one of the picks was just, it wasn't good. Well, it was Downs that dropped a wide open touchdown though, right? Pretty sure Downs dropped a wide open touchdown. That one kind of stunk. Aaron Rodgers, like you said, he looked atrocious last week. I think that's the easiest way to put it. That's the nicest way to put it. We were hoping for so much more from him last week against Arizona. I mean, I want to play Wilson again for sure. I'm going to go right back to Wilson here. I know he burned us. I can't remember the last time I played Breece Hall, but we love running backs against the Colts. He's kind of in a weird price range as far as who's in this price range with him. I hate it. I really do, Derek. I hate it, but I want to go back to the Jets this week.
I mean, I understand wanting to go back. Man, they were so bad last week. I don't know what to do. I mean, Devontae Adams, I think I heard, I was trying to look this up. He had the biggest difference between his actual fantasy points and his expected fantasy points. Yeah, he was expected to get 24.6 last week, and he ended up with 4 or something. I think it was the biggest gap in the NFL so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, he still had 13 targets. He had 6 catches for 30 yards and 9 fantasy points.
I turned off the game after halftime.
I did too. I actually had a fantasy or a team that had hope to save my weekend. That was the exact stack that we talked about on the podcast last week. It was Murray with Wilson and Adams, and I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. And it didn't go. It didn't go. So anything else from the Jets side here?
Yeah, I mean, Breece Hall is a good play. I'd probably prefer him over the passing game because if I play Wilson, it'll be Adams. And if I play Adams, it'll be Wilson or neither one.
Yeah, I just feel like I have to take some shots, especially after how much I played last week and they let me down. So yeah, I have to take some shots. All right, we got Seattle at San Francisco, 48.5 total in this game. The 49ers a 6.5 point favorite. Let's go to the Seattle side here first. What do we like here for Seattle?
The Niners defense hasn't been as good as in years past, so you can move the ball on San Fran. I just don't love the Seahawks here. I think DK Metcalf's going to be back. We'll see. And if he is, that's going to hurt the rest of the receivers there. Don't really love Kenneth Walker in this spot, so I probably won't play anybody on the Seahawks.
Yeah, man, I like the potential of this game. If you just throw out the defenses and just say, hey, this could be a really good football game, and just say, I think that DK Metcalf or JSN with Geno has a little bit of upside because Brock Purdy with Christian McCaffrey and his guys, they have some upside. So I might build a couple game stacks of this game, just kind of closing my eyes and playing the talent more than playing matchups. So if I do that, it's Geno, it's DK Metcalf, it's JSN. Those are the guys that I'd be targeting in that type of build. I really want to play some DK Metcalf this week. I know he missed some time. This is a huge spot to come back off a bye week, healthy. He has been getting a ton of deep shots this year. Just has a lot of upside. And like you said, 49ers defense not as good as it has been in years past. It was great to see Christian McCaffrey back on the football field. I would have lost so much money if I had to bet like how many snaps he played. He ended up playing 53 of the 61 snaps. He played 86.9% of the snaps last week. That's like a full-blown Christian McCaffrey role. Now, he only averaged 3 yards per carry. It was against Tampa, but 6 catches out of the backfield. He looked like Christian McCaffrey without Christian McCaffrey type moves.
Yep, right there with you. I did not expect that big of a role right out of the gate, but yeah, if that's going to happen in his first game, we got to like him in this spot. 19 touches. Yeah, he scored 16.7 fantasy points without a touchdown and with only 39 yards on the ground. That's just that's C-Mac. He has 30-plus fantasy point upside. I think he's the top running back play on the board.
What are we doing with the passing game now that McCaffrey's back?
I don't know. I think that helps their red zone efficiency. We talked about it a little bit last week. I think they were 28th in touchdown percentage in the red zone heading into last week's game. So they're going to score more touchdowns. I do like Brock Purdy. There were a lot of times last year when I would just play Brock Purdy with C-Mac to try to get all the touchdowns for the Niners. That's probably what I would do here as well.
Yeah, I think George Kittle's the guy that I'm probably off. He only had 11% target share last week. I think Jennings at 5,300 is a great tournament play. He had 11 targets. Like, Brock Purdy really likes Juwan Jennings, and with Ayuk out, he had a 30% target share last week and a 38.5% first read rate. Like, it wasn't a fluke that Juwan Jennings saw 11 targets. So, in a game that should be competitive, I think Juwan Jennings is a fantastic value play this week at 5,300. So he's someone that I wanted to mention. I don't mind playing a little bit of Christian McCaffrey, but I do think I'm still a little hesitant. I also have Achilles tendonitis, and it hurts and it stinks and it's painful. I know he's way more athletic than I am, but it's just not something that's fun. And we have a lot of running backs that are cheaper than him that have a lot of upside this week. So I don't know how much CMC I get to, but I like Juwan Jennings a lot in this game. Atlanta at Denver, 44 total in this game. Denver, a 2.5-point favorite. What do we like here for Atlanta?
So Bijan Robinson's top 21 fantasy points in 5 straight games. I couldn't believe last week when they gave Tyler Algier 3 straight carries from the 1-yard line, and he didn't get in any of the 3 times, and then they brought in Bijan on 4th down, and he just walked right in. It was just perfect. It was just perfect.
It was very tilting the first 3 times.
First 3 were very, yeah, and then they called the timeout and took Algier out. It was great. But I'm pretty sure Drake London runs most of his routes from the slot, right?
I think it's a high percentage. Hold on.
Yeah, so it's a 50% last week, and so he should avoid Cortland Sutton for a large portion of this one. So I'll play a little bit of him. Looks like it's 39% on the year. I'll play a little bit of Drake London. Don't really love the outside receivers. Not necessarily the best game environment, especially for an indoor team going outdoor to probably cold weather. So probably just Bijan for me.
Yeah, a little Bijan, little Drake London. Drake London is just too cheap for me at 6,700 for a guy that has his type of target share and his first read rate is really high. I still think like you could take shots on Mooney. I just wish he was a little bit cheaper, but he has a huge role in this offense. So completely understand why you would take some shots on Mooney. Kind of like our boy Bo Nix this week. He's a guy that could offer a little bit of upside on the ground. We like passing against Atlanta. Cortland Sutton still under 6K. I mean, Cortland Sutton is finally doing what we wanted Cortland Sutton to do like the first 6 weeks of the season. And it's just a beautiful sight to watch Cortland Sutton do his thing. I want to play some Knicks. I want to play some Sutton. I think that's where I stop my exposure to Denver. Williams getting 1 carry last week is definitely very just I'm out. Like maybe you could take some shots here on the rookie, but I don't know how much I really want to trust Sean Payton.
Yeah, right there with you. The estimate did have 14 carries. They said they were going to get him more opportunities moving forward, but I kind of want to see it before I, play him. He's only 4,500, so if pricing's tight, I do think that's an option you can go to on DraftKings. But I agree with you, man. If you go back and listen to our podcast from week 3 to 7, maybe we brought up Cortland Sutton and Amari Cooper, their usage every single week. We said eventually they're going to get going, and it's good to see Sutton finally playing well. 30 targets over the last 3 games alone. We've been picking on AJ Terrell all year, and I don't mind doing that again. And I like Bo Nix too.
We got some cheap quarterbacks. Oh, that's probably why I like this week. Oh man, I love playing cheap quarterback. I am a sucker for playing cheap quarterbacks. That's for sure. All right, we finish out the DraftKings slate with Kansas City at Buffalo. I know I'm excited to watch this football game with these two teams facing off against each other. 46 total. Buffalo, a 2-point favorite. DFS wise, anything that we like here for Kansas City?
I don't know. DeAndre Hopkins feels too cheap still. I think he's 5,700 on DraftKings. Travis Kelce's always viable, but the Bills have been pretty good defensively. We typically see these two teams, get into shootouts, but both their defenses are playing well right now. Still don't know if Mahomes has the upside that I'm looking for. I think we can get similar production out of the cheaper guys that we've talked about. So I don't love anyone on the Chiefs. I don't think Pacheco's going to be back, so we might get Kareem Hunt again. But yeah, do you have any more confidence than I do?
It's hard not to like Travis Kelce. Double-digit targets in 4 of the last 5 games. Huge game. I feel like this is a game where Travis Kelce is back up to like $7,500 Travis Kelce, and he's 6,300. Look at his target rate. Look at his first read rate, and this is when we play Travis Kelce. It's as simple as that. Like, he just continues to dominate the first read rate. He continues to dominate the targets. Since week 7, because their bye was week 6, since week 7, 28.5% first or target share and 34% first read rate. Like, he's just a guy again, and this is the guy I think you want to play. So you're going to get some deep shots with like Worthy. Hopkins is going to try to get involved here, but Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins are the two guys that I look at here. And Hunt is just getting a ton of work. I don't think I want to play him on DraftKings, but how can we really say that after a 10-target game against Denver last week? So if you think this is going to be a game that's competitive, he just kind of showed us his upside last week. Like, he scores a touchdown and you're at 23, 24, 25 points last week. So, it's hard not to have interest in Hunt. I didn't realize he had 10 targets, so that's kind of wild.
Well,
Buffalo.
I think Mahomes threw the ball like
he was chucking. Yeah, it was like we talked about like Mahomes not having ceiling, and then he went out and threw the ball 42 times. So
and he had 16.
And he still didn't have a ceiling game. Just play the guys that he's throwing to. Buffalo here, Coleman out already. We'll see what Cooper. I think Cooper ends up playing this week for what it's worth. The big one for me is Kincaid. He is dealing with this knee. I really want Dalton Kincaid to play this game. If he's out, Dawson Knox probably becomes my favorite value play on the entire slate. We've talked about it all year. Kansas City just can't stop tight ends. Whichever tight end plays here, I'm in.
Yeah, I like that. We saw Matt Collins have a pretty big game last week. Khalil Shakur ended up being popular, even though he was pretty expensive. So, yeah, we'll just wait and see on the pass catchers. You can always play Josh Allen, especially in this matchup. They're going to put up some points against the Chiefs. It's just what they do every time they square off against each other. So, I don't mind Allen, but I'm looking to spend down a quarterback like you. And I don't have a problem with James Cook, but there's so many good running back plays on the slate.
Yeah, I like Josh Allen. Don't get me wrong, but if I'm paying up, like I'm paying the extra $200 for Lamar. Like Lamar's ceiling is just absolutely insane. Not saying that Josh Allen is not someone that could put up like 35, but recently he just hasn't shown that same type of ceiling. And Lamar can run in 3 times. So if I'm going to pay up, I think it's Lamar over Josh Allen. All right, going to the Sunday night football game. We'll talk FanDuel pricing more than anything else here. It's Cincinnati at LA taking on the Chargers, 47 total. Chargers a 1.5-point favorite in this game. What do you like here for Cincinnati?
Don't necessarily love the spot on the road against the Chargers, but Chase Brown's too cheap. He's 6.8K on FanDuel. Can always make a case for Jamar Chase. I mean, he just went nuclear last week against the Ravens. Again, every passing game just has a bunch of success against the Ravens. So maybe I should have more interest in Russ. I don't know. Anyway, we don't need to talk about Mr. Unlimited anymore. But yeah, I like Chase Brown at 6.8.
Joe Burrow's like, I'll follow up my 392 against Baltimore with a 428. That was a fun game to watch. That's for sure. This matchup way different. I think Higgins matters a lot, whether or not he plays or not, for Chase purposes. But yeah, Chase Brown, 6,800. I mean, just getting everything, right? Just involved in the passing game, getting the workload out of the backfield. I know they brought in Herbert, but I mean, he did absolutely nothing. I don't even know if he saw the field. So I think that we just keep playing Chase Brown and be happy with what we're getting him at 6,800. He's probably my favorite play from Cincinnati when we're considering price. Other side, I mean, you could beat this team through the air. Looking at the pricing on FanDuel, we get McConkey at 6,300 and we get Johnston at 6K. Those prices are very, very friendly. I think I prefer Ladd McConkey, but I don't mind taking shots on either one of these guys in a game where I think the Chargers are going to have to throw the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they're fine. For whatever reason, I just haven't been a McConkey guy this season. You know, he had that one big game, a couple of broken plays. Other than that, he just hasn't scored more than 12 FanDuel points. He's done it twice in like 9 games. So I don't know. I don't have a strong take on the pass catchers. I would like to play Dobbins, but Gus Edwards was very involved in his first game back. So, yeah, I don't love a lot on the Chargers side.
You see Gus Edwards pop back up on the injury report this week with the ankle again. So watch that, obviously. Yeah. That could just be maintenance after missing a lot of time. But yeah, Dobbins, huge hit last week with Edwards back. But I think the matchup's too good not to have a little bit of interest in this pass game. I don't think I necessarily want to play like Herbert at 7,300 just because there's so many good, cheap quarterback plays this week that I'd rather play instead of him. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more here on Cincinnati. So we'll see how that kind of shapes up. All right. Play the morning grind game. Always fun. I like the slate even more than I thought I was going to. I mean, obviously I do my due diligence before the podcast, but I always like save a little bit for the pod. And man, I like the slate. I think it's a great slate on the first look. All right. Quarterback for 300 plus passing yards. Who do you got?
I think there's a chance we don't get a single quarterback to throw for 300 yards this week. But I will go with your boy, Russell Wilson.
What? You cannot say that you don't like a guy and then take my pick.
Well, I was just looking through the names and I'm like, no. Really? Because they're not going to run the ball at all.
Oh, man. All right. Fine. I think I talked you into it, so there you go. I am going to go. Oh, man. Give me. Yeah, I'm with you. I wrote down Russ, so that now you threw me off. You know who could easily throw for 300 if the game stays remotely close? Jared Goff. So give me Jared Goff here.
Might do it on 15 pass attempts.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully like 2 big 60-yard touchdowns. My boy. Low owned running back for a touchdown. Again, we record on Wednesday night. Ownership will change. Who do you like for a touchdown this week?
I'm going to give you 2 because they play on the same team, and I'm going to go Gibbs and DeMont. Both under 14% right now, and I think they're both going to score.
I was shocked a little bit by their ownership, but there's one guy that I really hope this ownership doesn't change throughout the week, and that's Williams from the Rams. He is projected right now for 11% ownership here, and again, it's early in the week, but the guy is on the field way too much. And I know Puka and Kupp being back is huge hit for him, but he's playing way too many snaps. We talked about it was 89%, just an insane rate for a running back. So I hope that becomes stays the case here this week because I like him a lot against New England. Quarterback, wide receiver stack for a touchdown.
Man, do you know who the highest owned projection for wide receiver is right now?
Probably Sutton.
Boudier.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean, it's early in the week. These things will change, but 22% right now we have on him.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, I'm going to go with Sutton and Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton for my quarterback wide receiver touchdown.
Shocking. That's who I picked too. Give me Russ to, since you took my Russ answer earlier, give me Russ to Pickens for a touchdown this week. Wide receiver for 8+ targets. Who do you got?
I'm going to go Garrett Wilson.
He's like, oh, Jets.
He'll get the targets. I don't know if they'll be good targets or not.
Yeah, I'm going to go Calvin Ridley. His target share is incredible right now. And as much as I don't want to play him, it's a good matchup. Minnesota, like you said, allows a ton of fantasy points to wide receivers. And he has at least 8 targets in 5 straight games with the quarterback play that is Tennessee. So give me Calvin Ridley. Tight end for a touchdown this week.
I'm going to go. Do you have yours first? I haven't pulled up tight ends yet.
Yeah, I mean, mine is Mark Andrews. I talked about it. It seems like Andrews way more involved in close football games, and I think this is going to be a close football game. So give me Mark Andrews for a touchdown this week.
I'll go David Njoku. I really like the Jameis to his pass catchers this week. Good matchup against the Saints.
Famous last words from me and Noto. We're on a lot of the same stuff this week, so we're gonna come on here next week, and we're either gonna have a really good week together, or we're gonna both have a really crappy week. So, defense for 10+ points. Who do you got?
Kind of like your Bears pick. I mean, they're so cheap. That's really what I'm looking for in a defense, and yeah, I think they put some pressure on Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. The other one that I really like this week that I thought was like very interesting price wise is the Jets. They're 2,800. I know Anthony Richardson's coming back and it's not Flacco, but I mean, I think the price tag is really intriguing this week for the Jets. I think the price tag for Denver is intriguing at 2,900, but I think Atlanta has a lot of offensive talent. So I really like the Jets price tag this week. All right, betting portion of the show. You having a against the spread or money line bet you like this week?
You go first.
Yeah, I was struggling with this one, and I don't want to be the homer, but I am going to be the homer. Give me the Dolphins -7. I like this line. I think the Dolphins come out and handle business against the Raiders this week.
All right, I'm going to go. The Chiefs cannot keep getting away with this. They cannot keep winning these close games with blocked field goals and penalties at the end of the game. I'm going to go with the Bills to end the undefeated streak, -1.5.
I like it. Over under bet you like this week?
I think you kind of talked me into this one. I'm going Ravens Steelers over 48.5.
Yeah, already bet it. That's mine as well. So I'm not going to give out another one because that's the one that I really like as well. So over that 48 total. Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's defense has been a lot worse recently, and Highsmith is one of their guys that get to the quarterback, and with him being out this game is what it sounds like. So player prop or Pick'Em play that you like this week?
I'm going to go George Pickens over 66.5 receiving yards.
I like that one. I am in the process right now of writing this up on Scores and Odds, and then we had to start the show. But this one will be up on Scores and Odds. But you guys get it first because we're on the show right now. So give me Cortland Sutton over 53.5 receiving yards. One of my favorite first look bets this week is Sutton's receiving prop. I think that is way too low. He's way too involved right now. So yeah, I mean, he's hit this line in 3 straight games. I think this line is too low, especially against Atlanta. And my boy, AJ. Got to pick on AJ. Noto, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I appreciate the chat. Joining along. Best of luck in Week 11. Definitely hope it was better, or it will be better than Week 10.
All right, gonna go sweat some NBA. I was telling Derek before the show that I had like a really good FanDuel team going, and then the OT happened, and Giannis put up 100 FanDuel points. So no more sweat. but going to be a good night for me over there on FanDuel NBA. So hopefully you played Giannis at his 60% ownership and his 59 actual points. Just an incredible game. Him and Wemby, 50 combined each tonight. So hope everyone has a fantastic Thursday. We're back Friday talking hoops. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.